Welcome to our channel. This is not just a story. This is a journey through pain, pressure, fear, fame, failure, and strength. And yes, this story is also great for your English, because you won't just listen to a biography. You'll feel it, understand it, and grow from it, word by word. So, if you're someone who wants to improve your English while hearing the most emotional, powerful, and life-changing stories, subscribe now because you're in the right place. Let's begin the real story of a boy who became a global icon. But first, he had to fight the enemy inside his own house. Part 1. The Boy Who Lived in Fear. Willard Carroll Smith, Jr. Born on September 25, 1968, in West Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Most people know him as Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, the Hollywood legend, the Oscar winner, the man who made us laugh, cry, and dream. But behind that smile was a truth he never wanted the world to see. Will grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, not rich, not poor. His father, Willard Sr., was a military man, strict, disciplined, intense. His mother, Caroline, was an intelligent school board worker, kind but quiet. On the outside, it looked like a normal family. But on the inside, it was a house full of silence, rules, and fear, Will later wrote in his book. When I was 9 years old, I watched my father hit my mother so hard she fell. That moment changed everything inside me. That moment didn't just break his heart, it broke his voice. From that day, Will made a decision. I will make everyone laugh so they never feel the fear I feel. That's how his performance began, not on a stage, but at home. He became the entertainer, the funny one, the loud one. But inside, he was just a scared little boy who never felt safe. From a young age, Will had a superpower. He could read a room in seconds if his dad came home angry. He'd crack a joke. If his mom was sad, he'd dance or sing. If his friends were down, he'd become a cartoon character. But this wasn't just fun. This was survival. He learned that entertainment was control. If he could make people laugh, they wouldn't fight. If he could make people love him, they wouldn't leave. But this superpower came with a secret curse. He never showed his real feelings to anyone. By age 12, Will fell in love with hip-hop. But he was different from other rappers. While others rapped about violence, hate, and pain, Will rapped about fun, humor, girls, and school. And he refused to curse in his music, because he didn't want his grandma to hear him swear. People laughed at him, said he wasn't real, but Will didn't care. He wasn't trying to be hard, he was trying to be happy. At age 16, he met a talented DJ named Jeff, and together they became DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Their music exploded in 1989. They won the first ever Grammy for rap music. Will was 20 years old. From fear in the living room to winning music's biggest award. But he was just getting started. Success came fast. Fame came faster. But Will was just a kid, with no financial education, no team, no guidance. He bought cars, motorcycles, clothes, parties, and more parties. He thought the money would never stop. But soon, the phone stopped ringing. The album sales dropped, and the IRS knocked on his door. You owe $2.8 million in taxes. Will Smith was 25 years old and broke. His home? Gone. His cars? Gone. His money? Gone. His reputation? Gone. He was living at his girlfriend's house, hiding from the world. He thought his career was over. He thought he was finished. But this is where the story truly begins. One day, a friend told him, "They're auditioning for a new sitcom called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You should try." Will said, "I'm not an actor." His friend said, "You weren't a rapper either until you became one." He had nothing to lose. So he went. He auditioned. And just like that, he got the role. That role saved his life. In 1990, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air aired for the first time. Suddenly, millions of people were watching him, laughing at his jokes, dancing to his theme song, quoting his lines. But they didn't know. Behind every joke was a little boy who still felt he didn't deserve love. Behind every laugh was a man who thought, "If I stop being perfect, everyone will leave me." There's one episode of Fresh Prince, the one where Will's father comes back, then leaves again. In that scene, Will asks, "How come he don't want me, man?" What most people don't know is, that was real. Will wasn't acting. He broke down for real and the camera kept rolling. Because for the first time, the smile cracked. The mask slipped. The boy inside spoke. After the success of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, everyone knew Will Smith's name. He wasn't just a funny guy on TV anymore. He was becoming something bigger. He made a decision. I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. But he didn't say this like a dream. He said it like a mission. Will began to study box office numbers, movie scripts, audience trends. He wanted to know what movies people loved, what actors made the most money, what kind of stories touched the heart. He became obsessed, not just with acting, but with winning. And it worked. In just a few years, Will Smith gave us Bad Boys, 1995. Action plus comedy equals global hit. Independence Day, 1996. Sci-fi blockbuster Men in Black, 1997. One of the coolest roles ever. Ali, 2001. Oscar-nominated performance. I, Robot, Hitch, I Am Legend, Enemy of the State. And then, in 2006, he gave us the film that broke everyone's heart, The Pursuit of Happiness. He played Chris Gardner, a homeless father with a little boy. The movie made millions cry. Because Will wasn't just acting. He was that boy, trying to make his father proud, trying to feel safe, trying to prove he was good enough. In Pursuit of Happiness, there's a scene where Will says to his son, "Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something, not even me." That line, he wasn't saying it to the character, he was saying it to his real self. To that 9-year-old boy inside, still afraid of disappointing his father. Now Will Smith was the most bankable movie star in the world. He had the money, the respect, the power, the fans, the fame. But inside, he still felt broken. Why? Because the one thing he wanted most, his father's love, was still missing. His father, the man who taught him strength, was also the man who made him afraid to cry. Will said, "I never forgave him," until the day he was dying. Years later, his father got cancer. Doctors said he had 6 weeks to live. Will stayed by his side, fed him, talked to him, held his hand, and slowly, something changed. Will wasn't afraid anymore. He looked at the man who once scared him and said, "I forgive you." In that moment, the little boy inside him finally let go. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about movies. It wasn't about being number one. It was about peace. Behind the scenes, Will was married to Jada Pinkett Smith. They had 2 kids, Jaden and Willow, both famous in their own way. But the marriage? It wasn't perfect. They had arguments. They took breaks. There were rumors. There were tears. Will was trying so hard to be the perfect father, perfect husband, perfect man, that he forgot to be himself. He wrote, "I was trying to fix everything, but I never fixed myself." He still smiled in interviews, still made jokes, still inspired millions. But in private, he broke down, he cried, he asked himself, "Why am I still not enough?" He had everything the world dreams of, but he didn't have the inner peace that money can't buy. In 2022, Will went to the Oscars. He was nominated for playing the father of Venus and Serena Williams in King Richard. Chris Rock, the comedian, made a joke about Will's wife, Jada. At first, Will laughed. Then, something snapped inside him. He walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock in front of the entire world. Silence, shock, shame. People didn't know what to say. Was this the same Will Smith? That slap wasn't about one joke. That slap came from years of fear, years of pretending, years of trying to be perfect, years of not being able to say what he really felt. It was a cry for help. But it was also a fall from grace. Will Smith had it all, but lost his image in 1 second. Now the world asked, who is he really? Is he a good man, a bad man, a broken man, or just human? Part 2. The slap that shook the world and broke the mask forever. And the world watched, stunned. This was Will Smith, the man we all loved, the role model, the charming, funny, peaceful guy. Now he was angry, out of control, unrecognizable. Just minutes later, Will won the Best Actor Oscar for King Richard. He cried on stage. "Love makes you do crazy things," he said. But even as he held that golden trophy, he felt no victory, only shame. That night, Will Smith didn't sleep. He sat alone and asked himself questions that would change his life forever. Yes, the slap shocked the world. But Will later said, that slap didn't come from that moment. It came from a history of not being able to express myself. He was not angry at Chris Rock. He was angry at himself, his past, his fear, his silence, his pain. He said, I was trying to protect the image of a perfect man, but that man never existed. The next day, Will posted an apology. He didn't blame anyone. He didn't defend himself. He said, I was wrong. I am embarrassed, and my actions are not who I want to be. He apologized to Chris Rock, the Academy, the audience, his fans, and himself. After that day, Will disappeared. No interviews, no red carpets, no movies, no noise, just silence. He stayed home. He looked at his life. He looked at his pain. He sat with his emotions, the ones he had hidden for 40 years. For the first time, he didn't try to be funny. He didn't try to be perfect. He just tried to be real. What he said in his own words, the hardest thing I've ever done is forgive myself. I always thought love meant performance. Now I know. Love is truth. I've never been more broken and never been more free. He began to meditate. He spent time with his family. He spoke to spiritual leaders. He read, wrote, cried, and finally told the truth. He said, I realized my whole life was a performance. The smile, the charm, the perfection I was trying to make people love me because I didn't love myself. This was not a celebrity crisis. This was a soul crisis. Will Smith showed the world something very rare. You can be rich and still feel worthless. You can be famous and still feel unseen. You can be loved by millions and still hate yourself. And most importantly, you can make one mistake and still come back stronger if you're human. You'll fall, but if you're brave, you'll stand up again. He forgave himself, but forgiveness is never complete. until you face the person who knows your darkest parts and stays anyway. For Will, that person was Jada, his wife, his partner, his mirror. And their story is not the perfect Hollywood love story you might imagine. It's complicated, messy, painful, and honest. Will met Jada in the 1990s when he was still married to his first wife, Cherie. He and Cherie had a son, Trey. But Will's heart was already drifting toward Jada. After his divorce, he and Jada got together quickly. They seemed like the perfect couple. Strong, rich, famous, powerful. They got married. They had 2 children, Jaden and Willow. But from the beginning, something didn't feel right. Will wanted a traditional family. Jada wanted freedom. Will wanted to protect her. Jada wanted to protect herself. They both loved each other. But they didn't always love the same way. For Jada's 40th birthday, Will spent 3 years planning a surprise. He hired people, wrote a documentary, invited celebrities. It was going to be the most magical birthday ever. But when the big day came, Jada didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She felt like she was on stage. Again. After it ended, she told Will, "This was not for me. This was for you." And that shattered him. He had given his heart, and she felt controlled. That night, their marriage broke. Will said, "I retired that day from trying to make people happy." After that, things got cold. They didn't divorce. They didn't fight loudly. They didn't leave. But they drifted. For a few years, Will and Jada were not romantic, not connected, and sometimes not even speaking. But they stayed under the same roof because they were trying to figure themselves out. They gave each other space. And then something happened. In 2020, Jada sat at her own show, Red Table Talk. Across the table sat Will. She admitted something the whole world had been whispering. During their break, she had a relationship with a younger man, August Alsina. She didn't call it an affair. She called it an entanglement. And the world exploded. Memes, hate, mockery, shame. Will sat across from her, eyes red, silent, trying to breathe. But he didn't leave. He didn't yell, he just listened. And when it was over, he said, "We ride together. We die together. Bad marriage for life." A joke, a truth, a tragedy. Will later admitted, "Our marriage was a performance. I was playing a role. She was playing a role. We were both acting." He believed love means sacrifice. She believed love means truth. They were building something beautiful, but using different blueprints. And that's why the house kept falling down. After the Oscar slap, many people said, "He did it for Jada. She made him do it. He was protecting her." But Will said, "No, she didn't ask me to do anything. That moment was mine. That pain was mine." Jada didn't stop him, but she didn't push him either. It was his moment and his breaking point. He later said, "I was so used to holding everything inside that when it exploded in the wrong place, at the wrong time, in front of the whole world." After everything, the fame, the family, the fall, Will and Jada chose something simple. Honesty. They stopped trying to fix each other. They stopped trying to protect the image. They started telling the truth, even when it hurt. Jada said, "We are partners, not prisoners." Will said, "We are learning how to love without needing control." They're not perfect. They're not fake. They're not done. They are trying to heal, trying to be whole, trying to be human, together. He was no longer chasing trophies, not box office records, not awards, not applause, not likes, because after the slap, after the public shame, After the marriage storms, Will Smith discovered something he had never truly known: silence. And in that silence, he found something more powerful than Hollywood. He stopped running. From interviews, from cameras, from performance. He sat, he breathed, he listened to his own thoughts. And for the first time, he began to understand. My whole life, I thought success was love. But love is not earned through work. It is received through truth. He had spent years performing for the world. Now he was learning how to show up for himself. He traveled. Not for premieres, not for red carpets, but for peace. He went to remote places. He read books that challenged him. He spoke to monks, healers, guides, and elders, not to get advice, but to learn how to stop talking and start feeling. He journaled every day, sometimes pages full of pain, sometimes just one word, enough. When he finally spoke again publicly, his voice was slower, softer, calmer. He wasn't trying to be funny. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to heal out loud. In one of his first deep interviews after the Oscars, he said, "Hurting someone in front of millions. It makes you face yourself in a way nothing else can. But maybe I needed it, because the version of me before that night was already cracking." Will began to look at his children, Jaden, Willow, and Trey, and ask himself, am I the father they need, or just the father I thought I should be? He stopped pushing them toward perfection. He started listening. Willow once told him, "Dad, I don't need you to fix my life. I just need you to see me." That sentence hit him harder than any Oscar night, because for the first time, he realized that being a strong father doesn't mean being in control. It means being present. Eventually, Will stepped back into movies, but he was different now. No longer hungry for attention, no longer obsessed with being number one. He wanted stories that felt true. He wanted characters that helped others heal. Because now acting wasn't a mask. It was a mirror. He said, "I don't want to be the best actor in the world. I want to be the most loving person I can be." The world saw him as perfect. Then they saw him break. Now, they're seeing him become real. He's still learning, still growing, still apologizing, still asking himself hard questions. But that's what strength looks like now. Not a big smile, not loud confidence, not a superhero. Just a man, telling the truth. Part 3. The man who finally became himself. He doesn't speak to prove, he doesn't smile to hide. He doesn't perform to be loved. Because now, Will Smith is not trying to be a hero. He's just trying to be honest. There's a moment that changed everything for him. He was sitting alone, no cameras, no team, no fans, just silence. He opened his journal and wrote one sentence. If I died tomorrow, who was I really? And the answer wasn't a movie star. It wasn't a Grammy winner. It wasn't the Fresh Prince. It was this. I was a scared boy who became a strong man, but I had to lose everything first. He realized something painful and freeing. I was chasing the love I never gave myself. All his life, the jokes, the success, the charm, wasn't for the world. It was for that 9-year-old boy who saw his mother get hit and promised to smile so no one ever felt pain again. But now, he doesn't smile to protect. He smiles to reflect. He became the light. Not because life got easier, but because he finally stopped running from the darkness. Success is quiet. He used to believe success was noise. Big numbers, big fame, big shows. Now he believes success is peace. The ability to sleep at night without shame. The ability to laugh without pretending. the ability to love without performance. Love is not a reward. He spent years trying to earn love. Now he knows the people who love you will love you as you are. Not when you're perfect, not when you're famous, not when you never fall, but when you show them your soul. The pain is the path. He tried to avoid pain all his life. Now he understands. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the teacher. Pain is the doorway. Pain is what turns a boy into a man. Will Smith doesn't care about being a legend anymore. He cares about being free to speak, free to feel, free to love, free to cry, free to be wrong, free to be real. He once ruled the world by performing. Now he touches the world by telling the truth. What you can take from his story: 1. You are not your past. Even if you were broken, even if you made mistakes, you can rewrite your story. 2. You don't need to impress the world. You just need to love the person in the mirror. 3. Your deepest wound might become your greatest power, but only if you stop hiding it. 4. There is no perfect. There is only truth. 5. You can fall, loudly, publicly, painfully, and still rise again, but this time, as your true self. He made us laugh. He made us cry. He made us dance. He made us believe. But his greatest gift? He showed us what happens when the mask finally comes off. Not just from his face, but from his life. Now he lives without one. This is the end of Will Smith's story. But it's also the beginning of something more. A man who stopped performing for the world, so he could finally become himself in the silence. And maybe, just maybe, you can do the same. Thank you for listening to this emotional, powerful, and unforgettable story of Will Smith. From childhood fear to global fame, from perfection to truth. If this journey touched your heart, you already know what to do. Now go live your story, not the one that's perfect, but the one that's real. The world needs that one. Subscribe now, because this channel is here for real stories, real emotions, and real lessons that help you grow. Not just in life, but forever.